Welcome to the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Grantee Training. In this presentation, we will be discussing risk assessments and their components. We will cover the purpose and types of risk assessment utilized by the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and wrap up by sharing some helpful tips and resources. Risk assessments are designed as a compass to ensure risk categories are reviewed so that the appropriate mitigations can be identified for inclusion in the grant agreement or to inform monitoring. Risk assessments entail a series of questions to be answered by grantees. These questions help ascertain the organization's processes to identify potential weaknesses. The greater the weakness of an organization's management of their grant, the greater the potential for waste, fraud, and potential abuse. Questions on risk assessments are related to an entity's accounting system, policies and procedures, and personnel. Answers to these questions are not punitive, but rather assist DCEO on who requires additional technical assistance to ensure the grant is carried out successfully. There are two necessary risk assessments used by DCEO. The Fiscal and Administrative Risk Internal Control Questionnaire, also known as an ICQ, and the Programmatic Risk Assessment, or PRA. The ICQ is used to assess the internal controls of an organization and evaluate its capacity to manage grant funds. There are 4 sections in the ICQ. It begins with Section 2 and ends with Section 5. The CFO or equivalent should answer these questions. The ICQ begins with Section 2, Quality of Management System. There are 8 questions in the section covering the grantee's accounting systems and reconciliation policies. Section 3 covers financial and programmatic reporting. There are 6 questions in the section detailing the grantee's policies on financial and performance reporting and preparation of financial statements. Moving on to Section 4. This category covers the ability to effectively implement requirements. This includes 29 questions revolving around compliance, written policies and procedures, indirect costs, governing body, procurement and property, subrecipients, and personnel. The final section of the ICQ is Section 5, Audit. 5 questions determining organizational structure. Have there been any changes in key organizational personnel since the last audit? Think executive director, fiscal manager, or program manager. If an audit had been conducted, were there any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses? If there were audit findings, did the grantee implement a corrective action plan or have findings been adequately cleared? It is recommended that this process be completed by a chief financial officer or CFO or your organization's equivalent. The ICQ is completed once per state fiscal year in the GATA grantee portal. All state agencies have access to an entity's ICQ and can utilize it for the given state fiscal year. Once the grantee submits the ICQ, the questionnaire is scored and suggested specific conditions are assigned in response to the risk profile. These specific conditions will be applied by all agencies issuing awards to an applicant. The Programmatic Risk Assessment, or PRA, is to be completed once per grant opportunity. Mitigations identified in the PRA will be communicated to successful applicants. Grant managers will confer or work with the grantee's subject matter expert, someone who has clear insight into the organization, the program in question, and who can explain in detail the history, purpose, procedures, and plans surrounding the program. Grant managers use the information gathered to complete the PRA. The most basic explanation of the Programmatic Risk Assessment is to identify potential weaknesses in a grant program to better understand what controls need to be implemented to achieve greater oversight of the program in question and eliminate any possibility of fraud, waste, or abuse. Why is this important? Imagine buying a pre-owned vehicle. Before making the purchase, you'd like a clear picture of the history of that vehicle. What maintenance has it had and when? Has the vehicle been in any accidents? Is it up to date on oil changes, tire rotations, and alignments? Knowing what you're in for with this vehicle will help you plan ahead in terms of how much maintenance is going to cost and what work the car may need in the future. The PRA helps identify similar risks and weaknesses in a grant program and grant-seeking organization, and in doing so, allows for the awarding entity to determine what measures to take to correct issues. The PRA will determine how effective an organization will be in completing their program. However, the PRA is not used to determine the grant award. To summarize, be sure to answer all questions honestly and to the best of your ability. Risk assessments are not punitive. ICQs are completed once per state fiscal year, and PRAs are completed once per notice of funding opportunity. These tools are designed as a compass to ensure risk categories are reviewed so that the appropriate mitigations can be identified for inclusion in the grant agreement or to inform monitoring. You may contact your grant manager or other DCEO support staff if you need clarification on any of the risk assessment questions. But keep in mind, DCEO cannot provide guidance on which answers to select. More information can be found on the DCEO Grantee resource page. Use your mobile device to scan the QR code on the screen or visit the URL shown here. Thank you for watching this presentation on risk assessments. If you have any questions, please reach out to CEO.granthelp@illinois.gov.